a big project that's taking a long time to do, and it's very time consuming, and we were starting to get antsy to get out and play. And we have a few of these songs that we've made more public than others, but we didn't want to just start playing all this new material that we've been working on behind the scenes. So the idea was if we could come up with some material that is outside of that a little bit, but we didn't want to just start writing a bunch of new material to play in lieu of the new material.
Come down from the top and call.
You know, now that we're in a spot where we're actually recording it for real, I mean, I do all my own tracking, and then I've got a guy that does the mixing and the mastering of the music. I record it all here or at my home studio, and then I send it off to this guy who I've been working with for 6 years now. And I record other bands sometimes, and so he's done a lot of the work on those projects as well. It's kind of how I met him, because I wasn't making my own music at the time, and I was recording other people. And so we became friends, started working together. Anyway, so now that we're doing it for real, it's been an interesting process, because everybody's so busy with their regular lives that it's been hard to get everybody sort of corralled. Like when we're together, we want to be rehearsing to play live.
Bad luck. If you kill a cricket, you might get stuck. She said, wait, it's bad luck. If you kill a cricket, you might get stuck.
We started kind of performing, or playing the song, practicing the song, doing some acoustic demos of it, and then I go back and I listen to them over and over and over again, and I try to pick out what I really love and what I maybe don't love about the song, and then I'll bring it to Jason and just say, hey, these are some ideas that I have, based off of just immersing yourself in the song and kind of, what resonates, what doesn't, and then he can kind of like, okay, well, let's look at it this way or this way, and then we both kind of come to a consensus on the best way to end it, and I think it came together really well.
You gotta come down. You gotta come down. You gotta come down. You gotta come down. She said, wait, it's bad luck. If you kill a cricket, you might get stuck.
After that, I was ready to relax a little bit. My wife and I moved from Nashville, Tennessee, down to Murfreesboro, which is about 40 minutes outside. There's a college there, MTSU, so it was kind of a good scene. And I remember just spending the summer of 1997 playing these writing these acoustic songs in my house. It was like a little modular house, kind of almost like an apartment in a yard. And we would get, it was kind of in the country, it was a neighborhood, but it was kind of in the country, and we would get these really, really big crickets, like massive. They were kind of scary, almost like prehistoric looking things, and they were super loud. And so you would come out of the bedroom in the morning, and it would be like there'd be 3 of them, and it would just be really loud, and you'd sort of I would get a little freaked out. And so I would hunt them. And my wife warned me, she's from Kentucky, and I guess in the South or something, there's this thing about crickets. Killing crickets is bad luck. And so I couldn't, she reminded me of this recently. I had kind of forgotten, because I didn't grow up with that superstition. So I never killed them. I would put them outside. And one of the ideas for this song came from that phrase of killing a cricket is bad luck. But the original thing was it was just an acoustic song, and it played like that.
Come down from the top.
thing because I wasn't aware of the story. But then Jason filled me in. No, and even just initially when I listened to the songs, he didn't fill me in on any real information on like where he had gotten the story of, which you can speak to a little bit about. Maybe there's a child in a tree and someone's kind of calling that child down. And I didn't even pick up on that initially when I first heard it. I was listening more or less to the lyrics and more to the tune and the melody. And it's like, okay, this has a good beat. I like it. The lyrics can always be reworked. And we only have to rework a little bit of it, but I think I was listening more to the tune.
I didn't come here to watch you play this game. I'm not here so you can pass the blame. She said, wait.
Hold up on that part. Like, just make a record. Just write what you want to write. And this was part of that. So the whole thing is very nostalgic. So what I've been doing is Kelly is playing an electronic. It's called an octopad. It's a Roland machine, right? So exclusively with this music. So I've been recording at rehearsals. I've been recording his MIDI sends, like his signals, so that I can edit them later. And it's just the MIDI information that I'm recording as we rehearse the songs. Just record everything. I always record everything, and that way I can edit the tracks and then either use my own kit sounds or play his box later. At the beginning of the year when we decided to reboot these, I started out by just demoing them in my own studio. Just take the song and build a really basic beat. Because besides Anna and I, there's a drummer. His name's Kelly McLean from York who plays with us, and then we have a guy named Christopher Bond who just recently started playing with us. He plays bass and guitar. He plays keyboard and other things too, but with us he's been playing guitar and bass. And he's a multi-instrumentalist, and he's got his own studio, so he's like really, he does this on his own. And so when I brought him into this project, I really was looking forward to collaborating with him. So what we did was I made these original rough demos and then brought him in, and he and I kind of worked through them together. And I was like, so where would you take, like, where does this go, And he immediately heard like the REM kind of influence in it, which is interesting because back in those days, I was listening to the Smashing Pumpkins and REM and The Cure and Love and Rockets and bands like that, but I think I was making music that was more atmospheric, even though it was rooted in a lot of that sort of jangly stuff that college rock bands like The Church and REM were playing. So he heard that, and so the very first demo that we did had this sort of, I was playing the regular chords, but I was just sort of, it was almost like an electric version of an acoustic version or whatever. And when we got to the chorus, she said, it was major, right? So it's bad love. If you kill a cricket. And he heard that, and he's like, oh man, that sounds like an REM song, you know what I mean? He's like, so I just took the C and changed that to a minor chord, and then it became a Here Inside song, like boom. So now you go. So instead of, she said, wait, it's bad love, right? Now it's, she said, wait, it's bad love. If you kill a cricket, you might get some. So now I'm playing Pleasant Hill. And then what we did with Anne was when we started to work on the acoustic version, I mean, with her and I working on the vocals, I had that minor chord, and so we could play off that minor chord. And so her vocal stretches that chord a little bit and makes it